Hey y'all, welcome back to the Brandy Yvonne channel. Of course, I'm Brandy Yvonne. Here at my channel, we do fun reviews, recaps, and discussions of all of our favorite shows. This particular video, we are talking about OWN's Friday night show, Ready to Love. This is season 10, episode 7, called Meet the Exes. Before we get into it, please don't hesitate to hit that thumbs up button for me. Make sure y'all are subscribed to this channel. It's still a growing channel. I'm dabbling back into the YouTube because I was gone for a minute. I was gone as much time as Ready to Love was, to be honest, or more. Anyway, share the video where you like to share your content and comment down below. Let me know what y'all thought of the episode. Tell me how mad you are that they took that break. Let me know what y'all thought about everything. Anyway, also let me know y'all kids went back to school. Y'all know I'm a teacher. There are students for my district here in California. And I live in Northern California, for those that don't know. The kids started back on Tuesday. So let me know, if you have kids or adjacent to some kids, when when the kids start back to school or they're already back, you glad they back. All parents be glad to send them kids back to school. All of them, okay? The gen ed kids, the special needs kids, and y'all know I teach special needs. They be so happy to send them kids back. Okay, so y'all let me know in the comments. Y'all send y'all kids back. Y'all glad they back? You still waiting to send them back? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, happy new school year to everybody. Ready to love. Own people, whoever we need to talk to. Will Packer, I don't know. Oprah, who is it? Do not ever do a 3-month break for Ready to Love. I looked to see the last episode was May 14th. That's 3 months. That's dang near 3 months. Because this is August 1st. I don't remember none of them people's name. I was like, what was the man bun's name? What was the curly hair, light skinned girl name? I couldn't remember nobody's name. I finally figured it out as through the episode, but I couldn't remember nobody's name. Now, I sure wasn't gonna remember their ex's names because I was trying to figure out their names. I couldn't remember what happened. I couldn't remember who liked who. They should not ever do this again because we gonna lose interest. I can't be keeping up with all that. That's too much to remembering and all that, child. Please. Anyway, let's get into this review. Okay, so they pick up where we left off 3 months ago, where Sahara was on an elimination date with Fritz, and I think it was Rose was on an elimination date with Eddie. I didn't remember his name. So basically, both of them were not ready to love. They was concerned about Eddie's drinking. He said he don't be drunk all up on the camera and all that. He was drinking his white wine though. She left him sitting at that table drinking his wine and eating his food. Fritz, had to come clean about, saying bad stuff about Sahara and in the vault and all that. And so they was like, this is where the cookie crumbles, this is where the egg breaks, the shoe drops, whatever they was talking about. So he said, he in his confessional that he should have just quietly put her in the bottom instead of like, joking around about it and being the way he was about it in the deliberations. And so that was it. Right choice. And I don't remember that it was supposed to be 2 men going home, but that's what we're doing. But I don't know. Even though we took a break, the good thing I do like about this season doesn't feel, as far as them like weeding people out, that part feels quick because it seems like they've been doing a lot of like double eliminations, but maybe they had a bigger cast this time. I don't know what it is. Anyway. All right, so then the men all gathered down to the vault. Tommy said he wants them to go on dates with the ladies and meet their exes. There's only 6 men left at this point. Okay, so the first date we see is Kiera. I forgot all about her. She's meeting her ex Jules with some guy meeting Jay. Jay and Kiera meeting up with Kiera's ex Jules. I think that was the first day. Anyway, we may go out of order. Just follow me. So now Jules was easy on the eyes until he started talking. So Jules basically said he's known Kiera for a long time, her whole life basically. And he was, did he say that she's younger than his youngest sister? And I know Jay in the confessional said that basically like he was 18. They have a 9-year age difference. So he was like, okay, so she was 9 and you were 18. So he said, I would kind of, I was keeping my eye on her, but of course I wasn't gonna cross the line. And I'm like, okay, anytime you're keeping your eye on her, you were an adult. Because like Jay said, like the youngest she could be was, who was texting me at this time? The youngest, age difference it could be was she being 9 and he being 18. So it's like, it's getting a little weird. It's getting a little weird. So, who was texting me asking about food stamps at 9:52? And it's somebody at work with me because they put Miss D. Anyway, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm like, who was texting me? It is 9:52 p.m. on a Friday night. You asked me about buying some food stamps. Girl, bye. It's between two people that used to work in my classroom. I already know. Anyway, sorry, y'all. So, let me put my phone on silent, child. Ooh, these people get on my nerves. So, anyway, back to Jules and them. So Jules was keeping his eye on the little girl. So everybody on Twitter was calling him a pedophile, all that. Which it was like weird. It was very cringe. It was very much giving pedia, like all that. It was giving all of that. And I'm not excusing it. Now, however, when like now, let's say she my age. Let's say she 37 and he's 46. It don't matter. The 9-year age difference don't matter when you grown. But yeah, when you're a kid and you notice that this little girl's liked you and you're talking about it now, it's very weird and yucky. It's very weird and yucky. So that's where he lost me. Then he talking about, yeah, I've known her whole life. And Jay was saying he likes how she got the swag and the bouginess and all that. And so, and then Jules was like, oh yeah, I know her before all that, before she was a humble servant. And so they was like, what? And I was like, why is he calling this lady a humble servant? And he was like, well, you going to church, you was a humble servant of the Lord. And so she was like, yeah, I was very much into the church and all that. So I guess they all went to church together, the Jay and his sister and then Kiera or something. So anyway, and so he knew her before she got all bougie and all that, and he not into all that. And he feels like she was one way before all that stuff, and now she's another way. And I was like, what? Like, what are you saying? And so then he's still talking about how he still like her, he still got a crush on her, and he's still, waiting for his chance. And so Jay was like, okay, you're gonna be waiting till you 80. And so he's like, no, I'm not stupid. Like, I got my options open, but you never get over your first crush, and she one of my top crushes and all that. I was like, what, sir? His is weird. And you know what? I'm glad that, Kira not with him. And I wonder what happened that them dating didn't work out and why she's still friends with him. He gives so many red cringe flags, like a narcissistic vibe. Like, I don't know, I just get an icky feeling from him after he spoke. Like, I don't know, like any woman that dates him needs to beware. It's getting very creepy. It's getting very creepy. Anyway, so Jay was like, no, like you need to move on. Like, why you like, even Jay was like, he doing too much. So anyway, then we also seen talk about Rose's date. So Rose had a foreign ex too. Now Kaylin, no, before Rose's date was Shanice's date. We'll do Shanice's date. So Shanice took Francisco on a date with her ex. What was his name? He had an interesting name. Was it Iggy? Inga? I don't know. Anyway, he was handsome too, but they was exes from college. I was like, Shanice, girl, that don't count. I wish somebody from college, unless we was serious in college, but wasn't nobody serious in college. So anyway, she brought her ex from college, and he was just talking about how great of a person Shanice was. He said that they didn't work out because at that time Shanice was real ambitious. She was in her traveling bag. He wasn't there yet. Which makes sense. They were in college. You know, you don't got money like that in college. So, but you know, he didn't have that level of ambition, I guess, that she did. So, you know, he just wasn't ready, and that's what it was. He was talking about how great of a person she is, and Francisco said he noticed that from the start, like especially her spiritual side, and um, you know, he really appreciates that about her. You know, she prays with him and all that. So then, I guess somehow they got on top of the other people in the competition, and he was mentioning Tay. You know, there's another girl, Tay, and so Shanice is like, another girl, like, what that mean? And then so the ex is like, well, how's Tay? And so Shanice is like, she cute. I guess Francisco didn't like that answer because Shanice downplayed her too much for him. So he was like, no, she's beautiful. And he talked about in the confessional that, like, yeah, he didn't like that Shanice is taking a jab at Tay, and you know, you not gonna downplay her like that, and blah blah blah. And I was like, sir, no. And Shanice didn't like that he was talking about another woman up in her face like that. Okay. Anyway, moving on. But like I said, her ex was handsome too. And then Rose's date, Rose brought her ex Caitlin on the show. He was fine. Yeah, I say y'all's exes look better. Y'all's exes look better than most of these men on this cast. I'm just saying. Anyway, though. But you know, the exes are ex for a reason, as they say. So Caitlin is not Rose's baby daddy, as she said. I mean, the father of her child. And so they dated some time after that. But she said they dated last October or something like that. Anyway, I don't know how long ago the breakup was. So I guess he has 3 kids of his own, and it was like Rose was putting more into the relationship than he was. And he couldn't devote the time between his, you know, kids and all that to her, like, you know, needed to be. Now on that date was Hussein and Cam, right? Hussein and Cam were on that date. And so they kept asking, you know, him questions about, like, you know, what's one bad thing about Rose, and all the Caitlin could say is that, like, she be over caring sometimes. You know, he be sick and down and out, and he be like, he good. He moved to the left. She be like, you okay? You okay? So he felt like she was overdoing it, and so they felt like he was like a used car salesman. Like, he was never telling them any negative things. But I didn't like the way Cam was like, oh, I want to, you know, she just comes across so perfect, so I want to see, like, you know, what's bad about her, what's wrong about her. Like, I don't know. I feel like Cam was looking for something. Yeah, you do want to see what the person's flaws are, but I don't know. I just feel like Cam was just searching for something negative about Rose. And then Cam started asking about the spirituality thing and how important is it that, you know, you have a man go to church. And Caitlin was like, okay, so are you going to go to church or not? And so he's like, I don't know, maybe I might. He ain't going to church. He ain't going to church. So anyway, let me fix this, y'all. Okay. So anyway, so Rose is like, she the easiest understanding girl in the world, laid back, like she don't be tripping like that. But I feel like, Rose, you should not say that, girl. Like, you've been saying you want someone spiritual, you want someone to pray over you, pray with you, go to church with you. Do not bend and fold on that for no man, especially not no Cam, okay? Okay, no shade to Cam, but don't bend. Like, if you want, that's what you want, someone who is into the faith in the same way that you are, then stand on that, because that, to me, faith and religion is a foundational part of a relationship to me, and I that's not evenly yoked for me. But that's just my opinion. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. So anywho, Hussein felt like he would have to dig deeper and ask Rose more questions to really get some answers, because Kaylin was not saying nothing bad. They felt like they rehearsed it, basically. And, you know, maybe he just didn't have nothing bad to say. Based on what they said, he may just not have nothing that bad to say. He did say it was his busy schedule. It didn't sound like they dated that long, if it was only a year ago. So he may not have had much bad experiences with her. Anyway, Cam went on a date. Now, Cam only got to meet one ex out of 3. So Cam went on a date with Sahara, and Sahara didn't have an ex there because she said she don't have any exes, and like the ex she would have brought on the show, he passed away, unfortunately, and that was like her best friend as well. And so he's like, okay, I'll ask you questions. Now I was surprised nephew Tommy did come on the dates with the ladies who did not have exes. because I remember in this one of the Miami seasons, I don't remember if it was the first one or the second one. What's that girl's name? Jeffrey? Was that her name? But he went on the date with her because she didn't have an ex. I think that's what happened. She didn't have an ex to bring. She couldn't bring an ex on the show because one of her baby dad or fathers of her kids or something was like an NBA player. She had a bunch of stuff going on, so she couldn't bring an ex on the show. And this is the first time we had saw nephew Tommy come on the show. No, was it her? Or was it the Dallas season? He came on the show for with one of the girls to be their ex. It could have been the Dallas season. I just remember nephew Tommy came on the show before when one of the girls didn't have an ex to bring, but nephew Tommy came on the show instead. So I'm surprised he didn't do that with them, but he would have to go on 3-4 dates, so it's fine. Anyway, but y'all know what I'm talking about. So I think Cam was asking Sahara like what what was the issue with the relationship. Sahara said she didn't like how rough her ex would be with her. I don't know if she meant like emotionally or physically or mentally or whatever, but she didn't really specify. And so she said she one flaw about her is that she's really sticks in a relationship no matter what, and like it's not hardly anything you could do to make her leave. And she said, which can be a bad thing, which yeah, that can be, girl. And so he was like, okay, well, you ride. Cam's like, you ride or die. No, we don't want to be ride or die. And so even Sahara said, I'm tired of being a ride or die. Like I don't want to be ride or die. She tired of riding and dying. So she said she didn't like how rough the boyfriend ex was, and she wants someone to be more soft with her. Like maybe she needs to be I guess he felt like she could take a lot, so that's why he was the way he was with her. And she tired of taking a lot. She want to live a soft life. She's like, maybe I gotta be a damsel in distress to have someone be more soft with me. Cam was like, no, you shouldn't have to do all that. Someone should just be more soft with you. And I actually really like this scene with Sahara because I feel like if we kind of got down to the heart of Sahara and why the way she is, because she has a rough exterior, and I think that's part of where her roughness comes from. But y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. So their date went well. I wouldn't be mad if Cam and Sahara ended up together. I wouldn't be mad at that. Anywho, then we get Angie on a date with what's it, Hussein, I believe. Angie went on a date with Hussein and the father of her son, I believe. I can't remember. He might have been nice looking as well. He might have been nice looking. I can't really remember what he looked like now, but I feel like he was decent looking as well. Anyway, Hussein was like, when's the last time you saw each other? And they was like, when we do the pickups and the drop offs. And then Hussein's like, oh, okay, so he's the father of your child. And he's like, okay, my bad. He's sweating in. So he asked him like what would be an issue about Angie, like why did y'all break up? And so he felt like she wasn't letting him be the man in the relationship. So, for example, when she was pregnant, she drove herself to the hospital and he like riding in the front seat while she driving herself to the hospital. Like she wouldn't let him be the man in the relationship. And so she was like, oh, it wasn't about you. And he wouldn't let her lead. She wouldn't let him lead. And so Hussein like told her like, yeah, you got to let a man lead. Like I totally understand that. And he said he likes to lead in a relationship. So he definitely was not, feeling that. Now, we also see Angie at some point going on a date with Cam, and he did not get to meet her baby's father because she said they just started building their relationship since the block party we saw 3 months ago, and she didn't feel she was ready to have Cam meet her son's father yet. So he asked her, well, what would he say about you? And then she again explained that she didn't let him be the man in the relationship. And so Cam said he wanted to lead his household, and prosperity and everything like that. And so he wouldn't like that type of thing. He did feel some type of way about not meeting the ex. And now at first, when I watched the episode the second time, I was like, I kind of understand Angie's point. She feels like her and Cam were not as far along as her and Hussein. Like, oh, okay, I kind of get it. But then now that I'm thinking about it more as I sit here and do this review, part of me feels like Angie didn't like Cam as much as Hussein, and that was part of the reason why she did not invite him to meet Cam. Now, I'm not saying as a mom, as a woman, she doesn't have a right. She definitely has a right to decide and better decide who will, meet her son and not meet her son. But I also feel like I think she just didn't see it for Cam as much as she saw it for Hussein, right? And know she liked her some Eddie, and Eddie left, right? So I don't know. I feel like she is playing a bit of a numbers game, and I think that's part of the reason why she didn't want Cam to meet the ex. But like I said, she has the right to decide, so I'm not taking that away from her. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments though. Anyway, who else's date did we see? Tay went on a date with Francisco and and then Deanna. We'll get to Deanna's date as well. So Tay went on a date with Francisco and Khalil. And so was it Khalil? Yeah, Khalil. And so Tay didn't have an ex as well. So she said she couldn't find any of her exes that would want to be on the show, and they booed up now, and she had respect their relationships. Okay. I mean, I personally would have a hard time like finding an ex I would feel comfortable with bringing on this show on a show. Like that's not something we do naturally in real life anyway. So like we get it, right? But you do got to do the assignment on the show. So also Shanice brought the college side notes. Shanice brought the college boo because she feel like her later exes are too toxic to participate in this activity in a healthy way. And that's another thing. You got to bring someone who's going to come on TV and not be like Jules was and showing they behind, right? So that's the thing. Yeah, you could have exes, but then who are you comfortable that would come and, like Shanice said, do the situation in a healthy way? I got hair on my earrings. Anyway, so Tay didn't have nobody to bring, so they were like, okay, we'll just ask you. She said, I'm open book. Ask me what you would ask him. So first they talking about she don't like snoring. I was like, what y'all asking all service questions? So then I think Khalil asked like, how do you deal with conflict or something in a relationship? Like, what do you get mad? So she said that if there's a conflict arises and the guy says something to her, she feels like they might be saying it in an aggressive tone, and she gets defensive, and then she'll go tit for tat, like she'll match energy. And so I don't know if she felt like that was something she had to work on. I don't remember what she said about that, but that's basically what she does. And so they talked about that. And so then Khalil asked us when y'all first, like, how often would y'all have sex when y'all were dating? And she said in the beginning, it was like a free for all. And so then, they was laughing, having a good time. Francisco felt like she was giving more of her energy to Khalil, as she should, as she should. Like, no shade, Cisco, but you should not have came on this show without your life together. Okay, so I'm really hoping Tay goes with Khalil and not Cisco. Anywho, I'm trying. I think we got all the dates. Yeah. Yeah, because Cam wrote, yeah, so we got all the dates. So last date we saw was Deanna and Khalil again. And Naeem, I could not figure out that boy's name to save my life. Till I got to the end of the episode and somebody said his name finally. I was like, what is this man's name, child? So anyway, I was like, Man Bun. I was like, I'm going to just call him Man Bun in this review if I can't figure out what his name is, because I'm not taking the time to look up nobody's name for this review. Ready to Love should not have taken 3 months off, okay? Anywho, so Naeem went on a date with Khalil and Deanna. Deanna also has no ex present. She said situation where her ex was too toxic. Now Deanna came on this date with some black, I'm assuming they were leather pants, and they had like these slits in them towards the top. So she had a little cheek top, booty cheek out. I don't know if that's what I would have wore to a date. Like, girl, what you wearing? But okay, girl, you stacked. I ain't taking it from Deanna. She got the body, but I just would not have worn that to the date. But anywho, like that's you going somewhere else with that on. So they asked her, like, okay, what would your ex say if he was here? And so she said that basically she's the type to hold things in. Like, if you do something wrong, she kind of hold it in, and then you do it again. Like she keeping track, like, okay, you keep doing the same thing wrong, and then it's like 3 strikes you out. And then she would break up with you before she even tell you what's wrong. And she said he would say she's a runner, she's a track star. Okay. Like if things get hard, she gonna run away. She gonna, keep track of what you did wrong, and then it's out. So Naeem was like, you can't be a scorekeeper. You can't be doing that scorekeeper stuff. And so Khalil was like, well, she's honest, but it was a red flag. But ultimately, he said, she's still in his top. So, they appreciated the feedback and stuff they gave her. They was happy to see them cheeks out and the view from that. She might have said something else on the date, but y'all, moving on. Anyway, getting down to the vault and the men's deliberations. So they told nephew Tommy about the dates. And so when everybody kept saying so-and-so didn't bring a date, so-and-so didn't bring a date, so-and-so didn't bring an ex, Tommy said they feel of excuses. So anyway, when Jay was talking about, the whole guy with the 9-year-old and how he was like, I see her, I remember when she was different. And nephew Tommy said, yeah, he remembers when she was 9. But the thing is that was kind of cringe too, is that they kept joking about a 9-year-old, him remembering this girl from when she was 9, and nephew Tommy even said it on his way out. And I was like, y'all overdoing that. Y'all overdoing that. Because really he is giving PD a light. He's giving PD a light. Anyway, so they were talking about all the dates. Naeem said Deanna didn't bring a date. Hussein was or Khalil talked about how, Tay and Deanna did not bring a date. So Khalil didn't meet no ex. Cam only got to meet 1 out of 3. Hussein said that he felt that Rose's ex was a salesman, and Cam felt the same way. They talked about how Angie's, ex said that she wouldn't let him lead. And they also talked about Shanice. And so Jay says she needs to be sending, the copy and paste text to all the men saying, "Good morning, King." I was like, oh, Lord. So he sends it back saying, "Good morning, King," to her. I was cracking up on that part. And so ultimately we get, that was pretty much it from the deliberations. Yeah, that was pretty much it. Yeah. So anyway, it was something else that was said I was going to bring up and it slipped my mind. Anyway, moving on. Angie is in the bottom, and I believe Cam's taking her out. Oh, nephew Tommy brought the fact that because Hussein got to go meet the ex, but Cam didn't. So then Cam really felt some type of way, and nephew Tommy, I feel like, was digging the knife in it a little harder, because nephew Tommy was like, well, he got to meet the father of her son, and you didn't get to meet the ex. I was like, okay, nephew Tommy, we got it. So anyway, so Cam is taking Angie out, and Francisco's taking Shanice out. Francisco's complimenting Shanice on her perfume, and she said it's called emoji. I don't know what perfume she got. Anywho, he said, he got right to it. He said the men deliberated, and you're very great. You're spiritual. I like the way you check on me and all that, but unfortunately, you're not ready to love. And she said she's okay with that. Maybe her purpose to come on this show was the fact that, to tell him, to pray for him and tell him everything's going to be okay, and tell him he will, fix his relationship with his mom. So she was just pouring into him, and he, of course, was getting teary-eyed. And I was like, you know what, Shanice, I ain't mad at that. No, I ain't mad at that. I like the way Shanice exited the show. I really did like the way she exited the show. Child, this talking got me thirsty. Anyway, so Francisco said it's confessional. No, Shanice said that she could see he was emotional and he didn't want to do that, and he didn't want to, she knows how he feels about her. But he said in his confessional that he was crying, because of what she was saying, and also because he realized at that moment that if he had to make a decision today, that Tay would be it. And I was like, oh, Shanice, girl, it ain't what you think it's giving, girl. So Shanice said in her confessional that, I don't know if she said with him or in a confessional that, she's really introverted. This process was out of her comfort zone. She is a shy girl. So, she's glad she did this. It really opened her up, and, she will find love. And I was like, girl, you introverted and shy? because you was the same one down on our TV screens 3 months ago painting bucket naked. So what is you talking about? Girl, you really are not that introvert and shy. What are you talking about? But okay, Shanice. Anyway, go on, girl. Anyway, I figured Shanice is going home because she had the least connections. Anywho, and Fritz left. So what was the point? Cam, he told Angie that he felt some type of way about the fact that somebody else got to meet her ex and he did not. Um, and so, which like I said, I feel like for the purpose of this process, she must didn't like him the same way, because why not just do it? Because you don't really know who's saying that well either, right? But again, she has the right to decide who meets her son, and she better decide. So ultimately, Angie is still ready to love. But the thing Cam did say, let me back up. Cam did say on his date with her that like she always goes to sex. And he's trying not to do that, so he was feeling some type of way about that. I feel like Angie's on here to play a game. To be honest, I don't really see it for her, but we don't see what happened. Do y'all even see any connections at this point? Because it's not looking good. But I feel like once we get on the trip, that's when things really start solidifying. So anyway, y'all let me know what y'all thought of this episode of Ready to Love. Finally, we are back with our Friday night show. So we will be here hopefully every Friday night. I'm gonna do my best. Now, when school starts back at the end of August, I don't know, but I'm gonna try, to stick with it. Anyway, y'all, thank y'all for supporting the channel like y'all do. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And I'll talk to y'all again soon. Bye.